Have you ever been in a situation where someone was so incredibly rude to you that it shocked you? Even someone you knew really, really well? Well, if that's the case, you might have been dealing with a narcissist. And in fact, that's what we're talking about today at queenbeing.com. Why narcissists are so rude. And why are they so rude according to current research? So let's get started. Closed captioning provided by Athena Moberg and CPTSDFoundation.org. My name is Angie Atkinson, and on this channel I offer free daily video coaching to help you discover, understand, and overcome narcissistic abuse and toxic relationships. I like to call it Toxic Relationship Rehab. So if that sounds good to you, hit that subscribe button and we'll get going. So if you've ever spent a lot of time with a narcissist, you probably recognize that not only are they sometimes very thoughtless and careless with your feelings, but they'll interrupt you, they're kind of rude, they're kind of disrespectful, especially once they get to know you. But in some cases, even when they don't know you. In any case, they're rarely polite, at least not exceptionally polite. They seem to have no problem when it comes to destroying someone else's self-esteem or someone else's day even. Here's an example. So there was a couple that I met while I was researching my husband's birth family and trying to find all that. I'll leave that video for you here if you want to know that story. But that's not the point. The point is I met this couple, Jack and Jill, we're going to call them. And during the time that I knew them, we were kind of helping each other out with the research. Well, at one point I was texting back and forth with Jack on Facebook, and he says, you know, the weirdest thing happened. After I found Jill's birth family, I was so excited by this that I decided I was going to try to do some research on my family. He said, then I found this whole branch of the family I didn't even know existed, and I was so excited to find them. I called Jill at work and I told Jill what was going on and how excited I was. Well, to my surprise, Jill actually got upset with me for calling. Now, I could understand if she was busy, she could have just said, well, I'm really busy right now, but I'm so happy for you, I'll call you back. Or she could have just not answered my call, he said. But he said, instead of all of that, she got really angry. He said that Jill said, I don't care about this. I don't know those people. Why should I care about some people I don't even know? So then Jim says to Jill, but I just spent the last 2 years finding your birth parents for you, and you were so happy about that. And I didn't know those people, but I know you and I love you. So of course I was excited. And so she says, again, I don't know those people. I don't care about those people. I gotta go. I'm at work. Hangs up the phone. This led Jack to feel very upset. What it all came down to was that in that moment, at least, Jill was acting like a narcissist. She was so self-focused that she couldn't understand that she should care about his family because it wasn't her family. Does that make sense? Well, it doesn't make sense to me either, but it makes sense to a lot of narcissists because ultimately they have no empathy. They don't care how we feel. In any case, it's really hard for us when we see someone in our life who seems to just want to make everybody else's life harder. And a lot of us have dealt with that when we're talking about narcissists. Whether Jill's a narcissist or not is debatable, but in this case, she kind of acted like one. So let's talk about a new research study that came out. Well, this research study found that not only could narcissists, especially those who were especially low in empathy, not only could they be rude, but it explained why they were rude. The study was done at the University of Alabama by William Hart and some other colleagues. And it kind of took into account the dark triad qualities, which I've done a video on that, so take a look at it up here if I remember to put it there for you. Those who tested high on the dark triad scale, a lot of those people have traits that are kind of related to psychopathy. So those include lack of impulse control, inability to empathize with other people, erratic lifestyle, lack of remorse, and then of course Machiavellianism, which is of course the tendency to exploit other people, seek power, and basically do whatever they have to do to get what they want in the world, to get their way. So the combination of narcissism and all of these qualities, according to researchers, basically lead to what they call a relatively malignant approach to self-presentation. Regarding self-presentation tactics, the researchers identified 12 of them and put them on what they called a subscale, those that were assertive and those that were defensive. In the assertive bunch, we had ingratiation, which is where someone uses flattery or agreement in order to be liked. And then we had intimidation, which means provoking fear in other people in order to be more popular or gain influence. That's a lot of times like what a school bully will do, almost. But adults also use this tactic, as we all know too well. Supplication, where you look weak in order to let other people help you on purpose. So supplication, you might see that with the Damsel in Distress Act. Or entitlement, where you take credit for things that really aren't yours, or where you assume that you get something that isn't really for you. Blasting, saying negative things about other people in order to feel and appear better by comparison. Or exemplification, which is trying to actually serve as a positive role model. Now in defensive, we had excuse making, obviously denying responsibility, or justification, which is denying your own negative behavior and making excuses for it, kind of fits with the last one. Then there's disclaimer, where you ahead of time lower your person's expectations of you and of the situation. Self-handicapping, which basically putting obstacles in the way of success so that you don't appear to fail even if you do. And then apology, which is in this case admitting guilt in order to convince other people that this isn't your normal behavior. I know a lot of these behaviors are going to make you think, oh my gosh, this is outrageous, especially when you think about behaviors like blasting behavior or the intimidation behavior, which is obviously bullying in both senses. And then knowing about and hearing about the defensive behaviors are kind of frustrating for most people, because they think, I can't believe they've actually broken it down like that, right? Because you see it in your own life so much. Basically, I think the reason it's so frustrating is because it kind of shows you that people are actually thinking about how to make themselves appear better than they really are, or so that they don't appear at fault when they really are. It makes them feel better, and even if they admit that they're flawed, they are also sort of making an excuse for it inadvertently. And then when we're talking about the sincere apology one, that's a great thing, right? Except in this case, it's about trying to twist everything around so they don't seem at fault. So it's really more of a manipulation than a sincere apology. So the researchers gathered up these people, they had them complete this STPS, which is the measure of self-presentation tactics, as well as, of course, the Narcissistic Personality Inventory, or the NPI. The way that they did it allowed them to sort of figure out exactly how each person in the study kind of fell on the scale. So they were looking to find out how honestly the participants would report themselves as using these tactics, as well as how useful each tactic had been in their life, plus how bad or how guilty they would feel if they used those tactics. I thought that was interesting. Then they were able to look across both of those different tests and figure out how high they were on the narcissism scale, where they fell on the Machiavellianism scale, and where they fell in psychopathy scores. So basically what it came down to was that when we talk about the tactic usage, those with dark triad traits were also the ones who were more likely to use the intimidation factor, as well as being the least likely to use the apology attempt at manipulation. They didn't see any benefit in serving as a role model, and even if apologies were self-serving, they didn't see any value in offering up apologies. But those with high scores would recriminate themselves if it helped them to get what they wanted. And they said they would use self-handicapping, and they believed it was highly effective. Those who had the dark triad qualities were most likely to be malignant, were most likely to be unapologetic for their behavior. They would act as con artists, they would act as liars, and they didn't care if they would be found out because they believed they could make excuses and get out of the trouble without a problem. If someone is more malignant of a narcissist or a psychopath or a sociopath or any other cluster B personality disorder, they are also more likely to be directly rude and disrespectful. What do you think about that? Does that ring true for you too? This brings me to the question of the day. And the question of the day is, do you think that narcissists are rude because they lack empathy? Do you think they're more likely to be blatantly rude if they're higher on the dark triad scale? And do you think it's possible for them to change their behavior? Share your thoughts and your ideas and your comments and your experiences below, and let's talk about it. That's all I've got for you right now. As always, thank you so much for being a part of my day and a part of my life. And hey, thanks for letting me be a part of yours. It really does mean a lot to me. Now, before I go, make sure you take a look at the videos I'm leaving for you right here and right here. And while you're here, hit that subscribe button right there so we can stay connected and continue on this healing journey together. I'll see you soon.